Some people call it WIM, but I don't call that. I call it VM. Hello everyone, welcome to Tabama Hi-Fi Review channel. Today I would like to share my long-term experience, over a year experience of using this VM Ultra in my system. This is one of my most used amplifier in my setups that I have. A few different setups. Primarily I use watching Netflix or online movies or those type of streaming services and music streaming for background music. This one always resides in my cabinet, always on, using it with CSS audio, 2 DDX tower speakers or JBL L100 Classic 75th most of the time. Dynamic, rich yet vivid sounding pairing that I like to enjoy, as well as using it with subwoofer. I try room correction, PEQ, that VM room fit. I try all that and it works great. So I'm not gonna go back there because I did that in previous videos, and how I fine tune it and all that information can be found in my previous reviews. M Ultra is featuring Class D amplification based on TPA chip that can handle up to 200 watts of power output at 4 ohm load and 100 watts at 8 ohm load of power output, and it uses ESS chip inside. Factory setting is improved compared to first generation M Ultra firmware than this latest number 6 updated firmware. Album, art, display, and all those areas they improve it. Room ready. Only thing that some people may complain is M Ultra or VM ecosystem in general is not supported the AirPlay or AirPlay 2, but my original VM Pro still support AirPlay. I'm not sure if it's 2. So those are older devices still support it, but not the newer ones. Every time they update, they improve stability and features and all those things that they improve, as well as that slight pop that some people may experience. In my case, my streaming setup is using, there is no power conditioner or regenerator, just standard power strip. If you have ground loop, it may be a little bit louder in some cases. In my case, it's tiny bit of pop, nothing major, unless I raise the gain to maximum level. When I'm using in main system with this Vinshine audio tie-hand power regenerator, I can notice that pop sounds slightly more than directly to that power strip when waking it up. That's how these type of affordable Class D amplification behave, unless they have depopping filter before that when it's starting or when it's waking it up. So those are a few things that I like to touch base. And if, as long as you don't hear humming sound, continuous humming sound, or very loud pop, then you are safe. You're not gonna have any issue at all. So in that setup, I'm using with single sub, and this main system I connected to 12-inch subwoofer to this M Ultra. I'm not playing around with PEQ or room correction. So let's go to VM Home app. So these are all the basic features that we already went through in my review. This is my subwoofer out, right? The subwoofer out, as soon as you want to play around with subwoofer, if you are using different brand subwoofer like I am, you want to start at 0. That's a standard, right? But if you find it to be bass is too boomy, if it's too loud, or anything that you find not really working well in your system or your room, I will suggest you to start fine tuning with this trimming option right here. So usually I start -3, -6, and maybe -10 or -12 without even touching the subwoofer. So that's if you like to use 2.2 or 2.1, especially when you use room fit correction feature. If you have two sub, they will give you a crazy setting. It's not enjoyable, it's not correct setting. So those are a few things that I like to remind you. Trust your ears and trust your taste. Don't let that auto correction or room fit or all those that run, let it ruin your experience, right? So hear it first and see if you like it. And after certain sound that you want is getting close, then you can fine tune it in PEQ setting. I don't really like to use room fit or those room correction, especially my room is almost fully treated. So those are a few options that I like to show, and I don't use subwoofer bypass mode. Main speaker, I always like to output bass because it has better blending option with even this type of such a small amplifier that I pair with these type of big speaker. This is 89 dB, 89.5 dB sensitive speakers, and it works flawlessly. Gain level at 37 on Amp Ultra will get me around 75, 80 dB peaks in this room. Another thing that I like to talk about is temperature control. Even if I keep using this Amp Ultra in closed cabinet, I don't notice any issue at all other than the film, that protector film that I forgot to pull it out. So that thing is very hard to pull it out when I remember to take it out. So that's the only thing because of the heat built up over time. I also try with this Galubido Divinity R2R DAC ASD silver cable, RCA cable connected to M Ultra line level input, and it sounded beautiful. Air and space refinements and those areas are improved, as well as giving me beautiful mid-range quality with incredible bass delivery, even without using the subwoofer. That's how I like to listen most of the time. As of right now, they are still selling at the original price of $529. How about compare this Amp Ultra to competition that currently available, such as Eva Solo Play Amp, which is retail for $699 using TPA Glass D Amp Android-based system with Eva Solo app that work wonderfully well, even compared to such as Blue Sound Power Note that uses digital direct. So digital direct is built-in DAC and all-in-one component that they feature in the Power Note. So Power Note, I don't think it has a full on rating, proper rating. As far as dynamic range and signal to noise ratio and everything combined, Amp Ultra is head and shoulder above the Power Note. So when I try Power Note, the problem was they sound pretty decent, but that attack and resolution and separation is like, I slightly prefer this ESS DAC based Amp Ultra over Power Note. And when I crank it up to like 95, 98 dB, the Power Note sound thinner and shallow. I wouldn't call it totally falling apart, but it's starting to. So this M Ultra is pretty decent even in that level of loudness when I push in the speaker. So those are a few things that I like to point out. Not always higher the price is better. It's always how they implement it and how they design it, putting them together with good synergistic mind. Some people may say signal to noise ratio 120 dB is no big deal, right? Compared to Power Note 102 dB, it is gonna be big deal, especially when you're cranking it up. When you're playing loud, that is going to be totally noticeable unless some people are not sensitive to it. So those are a few things that we have to keep in mind. Usability and features, I don't see anything lacking behind. Only thing that you are doing is saving a lot of money compared to Power Note. And third of the price, and almost third of the price, and you are getting comparable and exceeded performance for $529. That's why I'm still keep using this M Ultra. Price is right, sound is great, and features are totally worth keep using it. Operation system, I think this VM system is probably one of the best, if not the best, because like Yamaha or JBL or many big guys run the system based out of very same system but in different type of layout and skins. So that's the a few things that I like to mention. If you want dynamic vivid sound with good bass attack as well as airy highs with good separation as a standalone unit, I highly suggest you to try M Ultra over any of those three other two that I mentioned. Eva Solo is going to be less power, but they have a good feature sets and their screen is the best in the class, or even up to like compared to other higher price point screen. That beautiful screen and layout and everything is nicely done, and they are room ready as well as all the connect features that you can use. So price is great and performance is very good for the money that we are getting. All you need to do is pair it right. Personally, if I'm starting new system or if I want to upgrade my older M's, I will go with M Ultra, no question, because I like the way that they are reliable, the way that they sound with like good transparency sound with nice bass attack that it can deliver even in two-channel mode. And sound is always subjective, right? But if you are after affordable, good quality sounding all-in-one component that get the job done without breaking the bank, even comparable to Power Note $1,300 all-in-one and outshine those higher price point components, this $529 VM Ultra is still one of my best buy, my friend. Totally, wholeheartedly recommended even in 2026. Thank you for watching and happy listening.
Something heavenly led me to So great. On the bass, Mr. Korigoe Keisuke-san. On the guitar, Onuma Yosuke-san. Yeah.